Emil Cadlick here. Week 20 of the NFL season, the divisional DFS, our final show this year. And I'm here with the star, Jason Brady. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Really excited. This week's gonna be so much fun. Last week, I didn't really like how they cut up the slate into two different slates, but this week we have it all on one simple slate, 4 games and 4 very, very fun games.
Well, that is nice. Maybe they figured it out. They tried to do a lot last week with the Super Wild Card. I assume it worked, but boy, they had some lopsided games, which for just pure fans weren't fun. But I'm glad you got some money on the second day.
Yeah, lots of blowouts. But yeah, we'll talk about this slate though. We'll go game by game. We'll start with the Cincinnati-Tennessee game. Looks like the Titans are 3.5-point favorites. It is a 47.5-point total, which makes it the second or third highest total on the entire slate. We'll talk about the other ones later. But I guess the biggest news, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this one. So Derrick Henry is projected to start here. And, the thing is, if Derrick Henry gets a full workload at 7,500, it's probably the steal of the year. My concern and my question to you is, do you think Henry is going to be full go, or coming off of a major injury, do you think they're going to limit him a little bit?
Boy, it is a great question that we don't really know the answer. What was his typical salary? Was it more like 9,000 plus?
Yeah, his last in week 8 was 8,900. He was 9,200 in week 7. So yeah, he's typically around that 9K.
I think he's worth the start. Let's say if I had 10 lineups, I'd put him in 7? 70%? Yeah, I think that's a great salary. I think they need him. I think they're ready for him. He got an extra week off because they took the number 1 seed. I think the quarterback spot has been hurt because of not having Henry. They need Henry to win. Cincinnati's playing well. So I think they're going to go for it. And even if he's 80-90%, he's probably still worth the 7,500.
Yeah, if they do use him, and if he is full normal Derrick Henry workload, it's more than worth 7,500. So that's a reason why I'm not gonna not play Derrick Henry this week. I think you have to play him because if he does get that full workload, he's gonna smash. He's gonna smash at 7,500. So yeah, Derrick Henry is probably the most intriguing part in this game. Do you know the ownership on Derrick Henry? Is people going to him a lot?
Right now, he's the 4th most owned running back. Now, these numbers this week, because there's only 8 teams, you're going to get some high percentages. So as the 4th owned running back, he is at 23%. So, 4th owned. I think you need to focus on that more than the number.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so yeah, that's interesting. But yeah, I'm gonna play Henry. The thing with this week though, on this 4-game slate, there's a ton of wide receivers that I do like. So I'm not making it a 100% priority to get Henry. But if I can fit in Henry, I will happily do so. Although there is some slight risk. So on the Tennessee side, the biggest part for me is going to be Derrick Henry. A.J. Brown as well really sticks out, and it looks like I took a peek at the ownership. A.J. Brown's getting a ton of ownership, right?
Number 1, 38%, and he's $6,200. What's that salary to you in this game?
It's probably way too cheap, and it's a solid matchup as well. 6,200 week 18 he was 7K. Week 17 he was 7,200. So yeah, this price tag doesn't really make much sense. This is actually, I think, the second cheapest he's been all year. So I think that's
remember, this team is, when they're balanced, when they have that running attack, they end up passing better because they get those situations where they get a one-on-one or the right situation. And A.J. Brown, he really is an excellent receiver, so he could benefit from Henry being 90% to 100%.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, Henry and A.J. Brown for me on Tennessee. Was those 2 guys you looking at, or is there any other guys you don't mind on Tennessee?
I like those 2. That's kind of where I'm at. I can't really push anything else at this point. You can't squeeze anything out. That's pretty much it. I don't think Westbrook, Icahn, however you pronounce it, 3,800. But I don't know if it's going to work given Henry back and Brown. I don't know if it's going to be worth that much. That's a low salary, but I can't bite on that one right now. It just doesn't hit me.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree there. Julio Jones' price tag, 4,700, is a little intriguing, but I'm more so on the Brown side. On the Cincy side, I mean, there's a lot that sticks out. So for Cincy, at quarterback, there's a clear option that I really like, and we'll talk about him in a little bit. But I don't hate some Joe Burrow here at 6,600. He's pretty cheap, and obviously you got great stacking options. And Jamar Chase, 7,100, and Tennessee has given up I think like the second most DraftKings points to opposing wide receivers. So very, very good matchup for all these Cincinnati wide receivers. So I like Chase, 7,100. I like T. Higgins, 5,700. T. Higgins, I'm curious to hear his ownership because he took a crap last week. Only 4 targets, 1 reception, 2 points. I'm hoping people get off Higgins because he had a pretty decent price drop here. So what's Higgins' ownership looking like?
He's the 5th most owned wide receiver at 20%. Chase, the 9th owned wide receiver at 15%. Wow. The salary's the frustrating thing because I think Chase they have decided they're just going to throw the ball to Chase. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm taking that kind of a little bit of a sassy thing. Higgins obviously is important. He's got the size. They like to throw to him. But I'd like to start Chase, even though he's got it 7,100. He is lower owned, not a ton, but he is lower owned. So people are expecting T. Higgins, if you believe this salary numbers, to have a rebound week.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it has to do with there's so many great wide receivers on the slate that are cheaper than Chase even. So that could be a factor. And then also, curious to hear the ownership on Tyler Boyd. Tyler Boyd has actually scored, I want to say, he scored in his last 4 or 5 games. So Tyler Boyd's kind of intriguing with a great matchup against Tennessee.
Yeah, 22nd owned wide receiver at 5.6%. He's definitely down there.
I like it. He's finding the end zone. So if he finds the end zone at 5% on a slate like this, that's huge.
Yeah. Again, the beauty of Cincinnati is they've got 3 very good receivers. Does that mean Burrows is attractive? We haven't looked. We'll get to that in a little bit, but that's those are frustrating things to kind of figure out. 4,800 salary for Boyd, though, that's pretty attractive.
Yeah, definitely. So, I think all 3 of the Cincinnati receivers are interesting. Joe Burrow as well. Don't mind stacking it. But, so we talked about the Cincy side, the Tennessee side. Was there anything we missed in this game? I think we covered it all pretty good.
Mixon, let me go look him up real quick here. Mm-hmm. He is the 3rd most owned running back, 6,600 salary, 28%. Only 2 guys ahead of him, Fournette and Singletary. And I'm kind of agreeing with Bob Harris. He has Mixon as out. In his 3 in and 1 out, I'll give 25% of his picks up. He has Nick Mixon as out. And I kind of agree with him on that. Mixon's been slowing down. They've been throwing the ball well. If it's a game where maybe they're behind, in the first part of that game, they were going to start throwing the ball. So, I kind of want to, I'm agreeing with Bob and kind of fading Mixon.
Yeah, I agree, especially hearing the ownership. Tennessee's actually given up the least amount of DraftKings points to running back, so not only have they been passing the ball more, but it's a very tough matchup on paper as well.
So that's pretty much it for that matchup.
All right, so fun game. I mean, all these games are great, including the next one, San Francisco, Green Bay, and Green Bay is going to be the biggest favorite on the slate, and they are 5.5-point favorites, and the total is 47. So I believe, this is the lowest total on the slate, but there are some pieces that really stick out. I guess we'll start with the San Francisco side, and for San Francisco, Eli Mitchell really sticks out to me. Again, there's not a ton of running backs I do like on the slate, but Eli Mitchell is one of them. He doesn't have, a ton of pass catching upside, but I mean, you take a look at this guy, they're giving him the ball, 27 rushing attempts in week 19, 21 in week 18, 21 in week 17, 22 in week 13, 27 in week 12. Like, they're giving him the ball a lot. So the volume's there. and he's cheap, 5,800. So I like Eli Mitchell. I'm curious to hear the ownership on him.
Sixth most owned running back, 17%. He's down. I would have expected him to be higher than that. I mean, he's not low, but I would have expected him to be higher than that.
Yeah, it's probably the game script, right? Like, they are the biggest dogs on the slate. They are probably going to be trailing, but they're giving him the ball, no matter what. So
the question is, if they get down a little bit, will they still try and run the ball? And I would say yes. I mean, there's always a point where they're going to have to start throwing.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're right about that. I think that they're still going to run them somewhat. So Green Bay's had an extra week of rest and maybe rust. But that's attractive. $5,800 for a salary. That's not bad.
Yep, I mean, I'll take 20 touches at 5,800 all day, so that stuck out. Not going to get to a ton of Samuel. I think he's intriguing as well, but there's just so many other wide receivers I like more that we'll talk about. And then Kittle is kind of interesting at the price tag. 5,300 seems a little too cheap for Kittle. I know he hasn't been doing much actually for a while now. Could this be the game he potentially gets it together? Is Kittle coming in at low ownership?
He's the fifth most owned tight end at 10%. I'd say that's relatively low. They've been using him as a blocker, and that's the problem with Kittle. He's good at everything, and he's good at blocking. When they want to run the ball, and they start out successful running the ball, there's a potential where he comes in with a low scoring value because he's blocking. So you got to think about that, and perhaps that's why he's dropped down to fifth. I mean, Azuma is above him at 11%, which is he's a $3,400 player, so that's probably why he's at that point.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough one. I think there's better options, but the ownership is low, and it is intriguing. On the Green Bay side, there's actually a couple things that do stick out to me. Davonte Adams, especially, 8,500. This is a guy that this guy can get 10 plus targets any given day. The second best wide receiver on the slate behind Cooper Kupp. He's 8,500. If it was possible, I would have no problem getting both Cooper Kupp and Davonte Adams. Both in my lineup. It's very hard to do that, but definitely going to have my fair share of Davonte Adams at 8,500. I'm assuming he's coming in very high owned and probably rightfully so.
He's the third most owned at 22.9%. Tyreek Hill and A.J. Brown are above him. So high, but not as high as he usually is, for whatever reason that is. Does San Francisco, are they tough against the pass?
They're like bottom half.
Curious.
They're not great.
Yeah. 8,500.
I think
very
they're
tempting.
Yeah,
I mean, what do you think about the psyche of Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers? Do they really think, this is the chance for them to win the Super Bowl? And are they going to come out just... I know you always come out and want to win these games, but maybe they got a chip on their shoulder. What do you think?
That's what it seems like, right? Like they've been very impressive all year. Looks like they're hungry. I know they want to win this game, so I think they do.
I just kind of feel Aaron is. I mean, they're all. This team may break up. I don't know what they're going to do next year, but I think it's a bitter pill to swallow what's happened the last couple of years, especially against Tampa Bay last year, when they just little things happened, a touchdown at the end of the half, and they got kicked out of the Super Bowl by Tampa Bay. They're quiet about it. But maybe they've had a week to really scheme. Maybe they've had a week to really plan something big, and doing a couple extra things in this game to maybe score an extra touchdown or get some more fantasy points for us. So that's an intriguing point.
Oh yeah, for sure. But I mean, on top of that, so Davonte Adams really sticks out, 8,500. He's going to be my favorite option in this entire game. But there are some secondary options in terms of the wide receivers for Green Bay. So MVS is doubtful. I think Allen Lazard is very interesting at 4,400. His last couple games have been very impressive. 24.5 DraftKings points against Detroit, 19 against Minnesota. So they will be using him, especially with no MVS on the field. And then also a really sneaky option that I'll throw out there that I wouldn't imagine many people are going to play would be Randall Cobb. $3,100, so almost at the minimum price there for Randall Cobb. I think he's going to be very low owned, and I think I might have a little bit of Cobb. His last game back in Week 12, 18.5 DraftKings points, had 95 yards and a touchdown. You know, he's played with Rodgers before. They have that chemistry. 3,100. What's the ownership on him?
He's the 28th most owned wide receiver at 2.7%.
There you go. That's how you win tournaments.
Very tempting thing to do. I totally agree with you there. $3,100. You know, you don't need much of a floor to make that work.
Yeah.
And then still have some potential there. High-end potential. I like that idea.
Yeah, definitely.
I definitely like that idea.
What's Lazard? 4,400.
Lazard is the 19th most at 7%.
Oh wow. Yeah, those
whatever
are nice.
That means.
I like those.
Just below Julio Jones. That's not bad either, is it?
Yeah, I like those. I think both those are very sneaky. In terms of the run game, not a ton of interest. Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon, I think I'm going to stay away, but I think I'm going to attack this passing game for the Packers. Was there anything that you liked that we didn't talk about in this game?
Let me look up Dillon. Again, I'm cheating here. Hopefully Bob isn't listening because I'm giving away some of his picks. But he had Dillon as, in his 3 and out, he had Dillon as an in, and you'll have to read the article and get his opinion. So I'm not gonna quote it right now, but he's 4.5% owned at $5,100. You know, and Aaron Jones is the 5th most owned. I guess, you know, and I'm you know, go read Bob's article and find out why he believes that's a good one. I'm not going to say everything, but just want to say that Bob has him in his 3 in. So that's something you guys may want to take a look at. It's not obvious.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, you got Aaron Jones who's ranked higher than him, but sometimes that's the way it works, especially in GPP.
Yeah, definitely. It's sneaky. He's cheap. He's going to get around 15 touches. So, yeah, I don't hate that call. But I think that's about it for this game. We'll move on to the next one. And this game is going to be very fun. We have the Rams going against the Buccaneers. It will kick it off on the Buccaneers side. So, have you heard anything about Leonard Fournette? I think that's going to be the biggest piece in this game, Fournette.
Yeah, when is that game? Let me go look real quick. I should have memorized that. Is that the afternoon or? Oh, that's
Sunday at 3.
Sunday. So you're going to have to make decisions. Let's go look at the injury report right now and see what Bob's got on the injury report. If I can, I don't see anything right now. So not prepared to answer that question, am I?
I'm not either. Like I can't find anything on him, which is weird.
Well, Ronald Jones is out. We know that. And it says here on our last update on the website that the wait continues. So I think you're going to have to tune in tomorrow morning at the website or wherever and find out if Fournette's in. Now, as I mentioned before, Fournette is the second most owned running back at this point.
Yeah.
But, you know, if something, we're going to have to smell the tea leaves or whatever it is early tomorrow. Actually, it's not early. It's in the afternoon because the games are different in the playoffs. But going to have to make some decisions on that. 5,700. Obviously, if Fournette is ready to go, he's huge. And that's why the numbers are there. So it's still wait and see on Fournette right now.
Yeah, if Fournette plays, he's probably the best play on the slate. I mean, this was a guy that was on an absolute tear. He was priced up to $7,600 before he got hurt.
He's
$7,400. He's $5,700. So if he's playing, like he's a must play for me, honestly.
Yeah, he's the second most owned, you know, and virtually in a tie with Devin Singletary is the top owned running back. That is very tempting. God, I hope we know in the morning before the game start. Yeah, that's going to be pretty critical.
Yeah, if he's out, Giovanni Bernard, 5,000. I think I'd gravitate towards him, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, Bernard right now is the 11th most owned running back at 11%. Like he's $5,000. He's a sneaky guy because he catches the balls and he can get in the end zone. But like you said, Fournette's got to be out.
Yep,
in my
for
humble
sure. So
opinion.
that's something really important to look at. Also on the Tampa Bay side, it looks like, of course, we don't have Brown, we don't have Godwin, we don't have Perryman is out, Grayson's questionable. I think really in the passing game, it's between two guys for the most part. Johnson might get some love a little bit, but mostly it's going to be Mike Evans and it's going to be Rob Gronkowski, and those are the guys I'm definitely looking at. Mike Evans, honestly, like he's probably too cheap. Last week, 29.7 DraftKings points, 10 targets, 117 yards and a touchdown. I mean, he's the guy. He's the guy that, Tom Brady's going to look his way. And then also Gronkowski, who's 5,800. He's a guy that's been on a roll as of late, as of now. So I'm really intrigued in this whole Bucs offense as a whole, honestly. Fournette, if he plays, Mike Evans, way too cheap, and then Rob Gronkowski for tight end.
Now, what's the over and under on that game?
The over-under is sitting at 48 points, which is going to be the second highest on the slate.
Yeah, you think that could be a bit of a blowout? You think that could get high?
I think it could. I think it's a really, we have two really good offenses here, like really good offenses. Solid defenses, right?
Yeah, I don't know if you want to, if we're going position by position in this game. If it is, I'll shut up for a minute.
No, whatever. Go ahead.
Oh. Higbee's been kind of coming on.
Higbee, yep.
And he is the number one owned tight end.
Ooh.
At $4,000, 22%. So cash-wise, he may be a guy you can consider. $4,000. That's pretty low.
Yeah, he's cheap. And on top of that, like we've talked about it all year, when you want to attack this Tampa Bay defense, you don't want to attack the run game. Their run defense is great, but their passing defense leaves a lot to be desired. So I think, Higbee, especially, and Cooper Kupp, 8,600. I'm going to be all over Cooper Kupp. I think Cooper Kupp had his worst game since week 5. His worst game since week 5 or week 4. And he still scored 17.1. I mean, Cooper Kupp's just so good. So,
what a floor! What a floor!
Yeah, the floor is unreal.
It's just an incredible season he's had. He's right now the fourth most owned wide receiver at 21%. Adams, Tyreek Hill, and A.J. Brown are the only ones above him.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. So we talked about Cooper Kupp. We talked about Higbee. Any interest in Odell Beckham Jr. 5,300, Van Jefferson 4,200?
Yeah. Maybe ODB is finally breaking through. He's been so negative and such a mess. $5,300. He's the 12th most owned wide receiver. That's tempting. That's very tempting. I think he's definitely worth some starts. Maybe a smaller percentage. I think he hurts Van Jefferson personally, unless something changes. Definitely. I don't think they're going to be throwing to Van Jefferson the way ODB has been playing, and he's a great player. He's just he's just been silenced by all sorts of crazy stuff, including injuries. So I would push for Odell Beckham after Kupp.
Yeah, and then in terms of the run game, I saw Jamie, who's usually on the show, made a tweet earlier in the week saying Cam Akers, he's 5,500, which is intriguing, but on top of that, he's going against the Buccaneers' run defense, which makes this really tricky because Cam Akers came back last week, took over the backfield, 17 rushing attempts, 2 targets. So I mean, he's gonna get the workload. It's just the matchup is kind of tough. So I don't know. What's the ownership on
that? He's the 8th most owned running back at 14%.
Okay.
That's wow. Yeah, I'm scared of Tampa Bay's running defense. I'm just scared of it. 5,500, is that a pretty low number? I mean, if he really gets those targets.
If he gets what do you have? 18 total touches last week at 50. Yeah, I think it's definitely a good price, but the matchup just scares me. I think they're gonna want to pass on him here, so we'll see.
Yeah, wow, that's a tough one. I would probably tend to make it a small. Maybe I'd start him in 10-15% of my lineups.
Yeah,
I would be a little careful.
Couple. Yeah. But I think that is it for this game. Let's talk about my favorite game of the week, and this is the highest total. Last time I checked, it was like 54.5 points. So this is not only the highest total, but it's the highest total by like 6.5 points. So it's a game where we're definitely going to want to take a hard look at it. And I guess we'll start on the Buffalo side. And for me, Josh Allen is my quarterback for this week. If I can go up and get him, I 100% will. 7,600, great floor, great ceiling. The rushing upside for Josh Allen has been crazy. 66 rushing yards week 19, 63 in week 18, 81 in week 17, 64 in week 16. He's running the ball a lot. I love that for a floor. I love him in cash. Tournament upside as well. What is the ownership on Josh Allen?
Josh Allen is the second most owned quarterback at 19%. The only guy above him is Patrick Mahomes at 25%.
There you go.
So,
but yeah,
he's been playing well. I don't know what to think of this game. Kansas City's playing better. Now, what do you think about Mahomes? He's $7,300. He's $300 cheaper than Allen. Does that mean anything to you?
I get it, but I don't really get why Mahomes is more high on. I mean, the Buffalo Bills have a phenomenal pass defense. I mean, the Buffalo Bills have given up the least amount of DraftKings points to opposing quarterbacks. So Josh Allen has the better matchup. He has the rushing floor. So if I'm getting Josh Allen at a discount ownership, I'm very, very happy with that. But Mahomes, if when Mahomes is on, he's on, right? Like, he can put up a big score. It's just I feel more comfortable with Josh Allen. But obviously, both are good plays.
Mahomes can run, but over the years he's kind of slowed down. He's had some injuries, so they don't really like to run him unless he's saving getting a first down on third down and saving a play to get the drive to go. That's an interesting scenario with those two guys. I can see your point on Allen, definitely. I just keep worrying for the shoe to fall. I keep worrying, this is Buffalo. This is the old Buffalo. They're going to blow it. They're just going to mess up. He's going to have one of his. And Allen's had some floors. He's had some floors this year. He's made some mistakes. Although he's bailed out some games fantasy-wise by, at the end running and making some plays. But if I worried about a floor between Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, it would be me worried about Josh Allen. But maybe I'm living in the past. Maybe I ought to start thinking about tomorrow and Sunday.
Yeah, for sure. And Singletary for Buffalo, I mean, this is probably the guy I'm going to be going to. Just so consistent and so good. He's taken over the backfield. They're giving him 20-plus touches a game, 1,500. I mean, it doesn't get much easier than this. I'm assuming Singletary is pretty high on.
He's the number one owned running back at 30%. Yeah, just above Fournette, who we still don't know about. And then you have Mixon, actually, and then Henry is fourth, with the concern over him just coming back after this long time. Who is this Singletary? Where was he a couple of years ago?
I don't know.
He's doing everything. He's catching, he's running. I don't know. He's probably blocking. I just don't notice.
He looks so good. And
5,900. That's not a bad number. I mean, Henry's 7,500. Aaron Jones is 6,800. Mixon's 6,600. Other than Fournette, he's the cheapest guy either in the top 4 or 5 players. Until you get down to Mitchell's 58, and McKinnon, who we haven't talked about, is 4,800. Who anyway? So Singletary. I don't get it. I mean, it's just so much fun to watch him. I'm loving watching this guy. It's incredible.
He's doing good. And then another price tag that makes no sense. Stefan Diggs, for some reason, is 6,500, which that's actually going to be the cheapest he's been all year.
Ooh. And
this is going to be the first time he's been priced in the 6,000s all year. So this price tag, it makes no sense at all.
Sixth owned wide receiver at 18%. Yeah, 6,500. That is an excellent point. That is low. Yeah. That is very low, and he's got a high ceiling there, obviously.
Yeah, so that's another. Like, I'm going to be playing a lot on this game. And then, what are your thoughts on Dawson Knox? Like, this is a guy that I was never too high on, but he had a big game last week against New England, 25.9 DraftKings points. Any interest in him?
Yes. He's 5,900 points. He's the 8th owned tight end at 6.7%. Yes, I'm interested in the guy. I think you could try and fit him in and see how it works. He's definitely getting, I don't have the target numbers in front of me. We got it on the website. They're throwing to him inside the 10 zone. They're throwing him at the goal line. This guy's got chances to score touchdowns. And, if we have a high-scoring game, he's definitely a guy who could do well. So, Yes, I'm interested in Dawson Knox. How much, I'm not 100% sure, but he should be very much considered.
11 touchdowns on the year, which is pretty dang good for a tight end.
Very good for a tight end. And he's at 8 right now. He's got that Dugara guy for Green Bay is above him right now in ownership. Well, they're virtually tied, but he's only got a $3,000 salary, so I can understand why he's sneaking up a little bit above Dawson Knox.
Yeah, for sure. On the Kansas City side, we talked about Stefan Diggs' price tag, $6,500. Now this price tag is even worse. Tyreek Hill, what's going on? $6,600, which this is the cheapest he's been all year, and this is the first time he's been priced in the 6,000s. Tyreek Hill, what's going on here with the price tag? I'm assuming he's very high owned.
Yeah, he's the number 2 owned. He's at 26% right now. Ironically, A.J. Brown's ahead of him. Of course, he's $400 cheaper. But about $6,600. How do you not start this guy in cash? I'm not sure what to think there. And he's a very he's got a lot of talent. He can do things. I know Buffalo's defense is strong, but they can find ways to get him the ball. They find ways to get him the ball. This is a critical, huge game. They're going to get him the ball. So $6,600. I mean, wow, that's cheap. That is very cheap.
Yeah, it is a tough matchup, but I mean it's Tyreek Hill. And then another price that doesn't make sense, Travis Kelsey, and this is the cheapest Travis Kelsey's been all year, $6,500. So I don't know what's going on with these prices, but we're getting some really good players really cheap this week.
Yeah, Kelsey's the number 2 owned tight end, 15%. Higbee for the Rams is above him at 22%. Now remember, Higbee's at 4K. And Kelsey's at 6,500. Maybe that's why Higbee's, and they're using Higbee a little more frequently. Yeah. So that's cheap. I'm not sure what to think about that. That's very, very tempting, no doubt.
Definitely, yeah. So Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelsey. We talked about Mahomes. What do you make of this backfield? So it looks like Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to play. Jerick McKinnon out of nowhere last week. Looks good. Looks really good. What do you think they're going to do with this backfield? Do you think they're going to, split it up, or do you think McKinnon might take over? He looked good last week. What do you think's going on with this backfield?
A lot depends on Hilaire, whether he's really ready to come back. So that makes it a mess. Just to show the listeners, McKinnon right now is the 7th most owned running back, above all the other ones we're talking about at $4,800, 15%. Then you got CEH at the 10th owned running back at $5,200, and then you have Darrell Williams at the 12. So they're all bunched up in there, and I think it's a very frustrating situation. If you truly think CEH is ready to go, I mean, it could just flip. But maybe it depends on the scenario with Buffalo. Maybe McKinnon's the best receiving back, and maybe that's why they're putting him in there, because he can do both things. So perhaps that's why he's the 7th most. $4,800. That's a fairly low price, but if CEH takes over, the floor could really get you.
Yeah, I mean, I have no idea what to do with this backfield, but it's intriguing because when you want to attack Buffalo, you attack their run defense. Their passing defense is phenomenal. Their run defense is what, kind of, I don't want to say it lacks, but it's a lot worse than the passing defense, which is phenomenal. So, yeah, it's tough. If I had to make a guess, which I have no clue what's going to happen, if I had to make a guess, I would say maybe it could be McKinnon. Maybe, like you said, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is not 100%. McKinnon looked really good last week. Maybe they stick with him, which I would personally do, but I'm not the coach. That's what my guess would be, but I'm just guessing at this point. So I think if anything, I might play some McKinnon, but not a ton probably.
Yeah, I probably have to go low on that if I'm fitting some other guys in that you're going to have to pay more to get a Singletary. So you're going to have to make some decisions. You've got McKinnon's $4,800. That's why you may want to sneak him in a lineup somewhere where you can still fill your roster well. He's the 7th most owned receiver, but maybe running back, but maybe he's still good for a GPP in a playoff GPP. So that's very tough choices. Very tough choices because you can't trust these coaches. You don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah, I will say this: Jarrett McKinnon won somebody a lot of money last week. This guy was like 2% owned. Nobody played him. 4,300, and he put up 26.
So that's a good point.
Which got me.
That's a good point.
Yep.
Go back to the well, perhaps.
Perhaps. But yeah, I think that's about it. We covered every game. Was there anything else you wanted to add or talk about?
Byron Pringle is the 10th most owned wide receiver. He's 4,200, and obviously people are thinking he may play well this week for whatever reason. So that's a guy to consider. And as a matter of fact, if I want to quote Bob Harris, he is one of his 3 in his article, which you can go read and ask why. But so that's something to seriously consider if you're looking for somebody who's a little off. Certainly not a 1 or 2% owned guy like your Randall Cobb that you mentioned earlier in a different game.
Yeah.
So.
Hopefully Cobb catches a touchdown. I'll look really smart if that happens. But yeah, Byron Pringle is another cheap guy out there as well.
Yeah. So that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it for that. So let me ask you a lopsided question. Who are you going to start? You're going to go Josh Allen pretty much a high percentage?
Yeah, if I can, it's Josh Allen. No,
if you wanted to go a little lower in price, do you have a guy yet in your mind?
Yeah, it's between Burrow and Stafford. I'd probably go Burrow, honestly.
Well, Burrow's 6,600, and he's the 5th most owned quarterback out of 8.
Mm-hmm.
And Stafford is 7. He's 5% owned, and he's $6,200. He still scares me a little bit. He can make mistakes, but I like those 2 picks. And Tannehill, I'm still worried about. I just don't know about him right now. Of course, with Henry back, it may help, but I don't think I really want to mess with Stafford. So I agree with you. Tannehill. So I would think Burrow or Stafford right now. You've got the lower salaries on. And if you wanted any defenses that you're interested, that you're looking at?
Really, I mean, this is a week where whatever fits. I'm happy to go down and maybe go to even like the punting at 49ers. It's the lowest total on the slate. I think they do get beat, but there's not a single defense that really sticks out. What's the ownership on the defense?
First off, the prices are very tight. They're not that far from one another. Tennessee Titans at 2,900 is the number 1 owned defense at 27%. Then you got Cincinnati at Tennessee. You got Green Bay, who's 3,200, which is one of the highest priced. Is that the highest priced? Yeah, Green Bay has the highest price. Yeah. And they're the 3rd most owned. So, it's a tough one. I haven't really looked at the defenses that much yet, but Buffalo is only $2,600 against Kansas City, and they're the 8th owned defense out of 8 defenses.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, 2,600. They're $100 more than San Francisco against Green Bay. Not that Kansas City makes mistakes, but something to consider.
No strong lean on a defense. Like they're all pretty similar to me. So really, just whatever fits in the lineup, I think I'm going to roll with this week.
Somebody's going to do something, and I can't tell.
Somebody's going to score.
I mean, who's the weakest team in the playoffs right now? I mean, San Francisco could fall apart, although I don't think they will. But I mean, look what Garoppolo did. He almost threw that game last week with that stupid pass.
Yeah.
You remember that over the guy's head? And then the announcers were saying, "Wow, Dallas, they really screwed." He threw it right to the guy. He couldn't even get out of the way. It was kind of like, "Oh, I caught it,"
I know.
Garoppolo can screw it up. He could screw this up, which would be good. But I'm not saying he's going to, but that would be why you would think Green Bay has a little bit. Well, they're the 3rd most owned defense, and they're the most costly defense. Not by a ton, but they're $3,200. So.
Yeah, I agree.
All right.
Screwed up.
It's not going to be easy making lineups tomorrow, that's for sure. But hopefully we've helped you guys.
Yes, for sure. But I think that's about it.
Well, thanks for everything. It's been a great year. You've won a lot of money. I've won a little money, but then I only I only bet a little money, but it's been really great. And
Yeah, I mean,
Jamie, I forgot to mention, he's got COVID. I don't know if he does right now, but he did earlier. And hopefully he is recovering, and we'll get some lineups in. If he can tweet, he can put lineups in.
yes, yes. I'm sure Damon will be putting some lineups in for sure.
So I hope he's doing well.
Yeah, for sure. All right.
All right, I guess we're done. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Jason. We will go in and see if we can win some money this week. I guess there's some more DFS next week. We're not going to have a show. It's going to get pretty thin going into next week. But they even do DFS in the Super Bowl, don't they? Or do they not?
Yeah, they do. They do like a showdown slate for the Super Bowl. Yeah.
Sneaky guys. All right, sir. Thank you so much.
All right, no problem. We'll talk
Good luck,
to you,
everybody.
We'll talk to you soon.